Alright everyone, on the April the 8th there's going to be a total eclipse of the sun, and people are slightly worried about that. People who believe in astrology mainly. As an occultist I have maybe a little bit more of a nuanced approach to astronomical phenomena, but it's actually going to go right over Vermont. We're gonna get it fully. It's going to be pretty cool. Don't worry, I won't look directly at it and become blind because I kind of have to see what I'm doing on the computer. It's slightly important. Sort of like I wouldn't chop my fingers off. I think that would probably be negative impact for the work that I do. But here's my thoughts. Some people say, well, there's going to be a total eclipse and Mercury's in retrograde, so clearly this is an ominous foretelling that bad things are about to occur. I don't interpret it that way myself. I interpret it from the occult perspective. I interpret it as change, as opposed to necessarily some catastrophe, apocalyptic things happening. We've had plenty of apocalyptic things happening over the last 10 years, haven't we? It does not require an eclipse or a comet or something like that in order for those things to occur. It simply is the way that things work. The human timeline is basically periods of struggle and disasters punctuated by very brief periods of peace. In fact, largely we're in one right now. We're in a brief warm period in the midst of an ice age. So you can count your blessings. Actually, things are a lot better than they could be, actually, given the overall circumstances of the human timeline for the last few 100,000 years. At any given time, you could have another major supervolcanic eruption knock parts of the world back to the Stone Age, effectively. Well, it's not happening right now, and I don't think that an eclipse is going to trigger them. I see people like apocalyptic Christians, people that are into astrology, people that are into apocalyptic lore in general, predicting that this is going to be some great big thing. I find it an interesting astronomical phenomenon. The caveat, bad things can happen due to the eclipse. It's like you may have noticed that a lot of schools have closed for the eclipse. Why would that be? It must be that something terrible is going to happen, right? And they have foreknowledge of it. Yeah, something terrible would happen. All those kids would look out the window at the eclipse and they would blind themselves. And at the very least, they'd be distracted from their schoolwork. You think the average teacher is actually going to be able to hold command of their class when the sun starts to darken in the middle of the day? It's not worth even having the schools open. Certain highways are closed in some states. Why would that be? Well, clearly they expect something horrible to happen. They need to keep the roads open for all the airliners that have come crashing out of the sky. They need an emergency landing zone. No, it's because big rig truckers, specifically in Texas, big rig truckers aren't going to be allowed to be on the roads that day. Why? If you and your little subcompact car are stupid enough to look directly at the eclipse, are temporarily blinded and go off the road, it'll damage things maybe. Maybe it damages a tree. Maybe you just die. Maybe you do hit another vehicle. If you hit some larger vehicle, they're probably going to be fine. What happens if if a truck carrying 50,000 tons of cement bricks going down the road at 80 miles per hour? What if that driver decides to temporarily blind themselves and goes off the road? Well, now you got 15 deaths and a pileup. Well, that's not going to go over well, and so you don't want that happening. There is a rational explanation for the proposals that have been made, closures of schools and things like that. The school does not want to be responsible for the kid being blinded. They would rather the kid be blinded on their own property at home on that particular day. And so it really does actually make sense when you think about it. The real thing about the eclipse is that human behavior will be altered. It's an interesting phenomenon, therefore it affects the way in which people operate. And that can be positive or negative. Again, blinding yourself, generally going to be a negative thing. You probably won't go permanently blind if you just glance at the eclipse, but you could go temporarily blind, so if you're on the road, that would be a bad thing, for example. Schools don't want to be held liable for damage to a student's eyesight. They don't want to get sued. There's your explanation. The big thing, though, is that certain people that do have apocalyptic views will alter their behavior as the result of this particular conjunction. And so, again, like with the red heifer prophecy that I talked about yesterday, and apparently I was wrong. Apparently there are some of these cows already over there in Israel. There's been a shipment of cows that are purported to be perfect offerings, potentially. The problem is that upon second check, the rabbis will probably find 3 or more hairs of a different color on them. This happened several times before, so it's, again, a 1 in a million chance, so whatever. The thing is, though, that if the red heifer were offered at the Temple Mount, it's not like Jesus comes out of the sky, the Moshiach wanders out of the wilderness screaming about salvation, or Satan comes up out of the ground, or Iblis starts soaring around and farting out gas all over the population and killing everyone. That's not what's going to happen. What would happen is probably a localized civil war that could extend into a regional or even worldwide conflict, because people believe in it. If people believe that the eclipse with Mercury retrograde is going to cause some evil and chaos, it will alter their behavior. They'll be more on edge. And so, yeah, you'll probably get a slight spike in crime, and people will say that that was the result of the eclipse. No, it's the result of people's belief in the eclipse. That's what'll happen. People go prepping or something like that. You can expect in some more, maybe spiritually minded communities, they might be running low on toilet paper right now. I'm just saying. Maybe this will be another panic moment. Maybe you should get that extra toilet paper. Then I neglected to mention when I warned of the incoming panic that would happen with a certain virus that shall not be named on a YouTube video. I was correct, but I forgot the toilet paper. Whoops. At least I told people to get the can opener along with the canned soup that they were hoarding at the time. The shelves were a little bit bare. I noticed that the tonic water and the gin and tonic were a little bit low, probably because of the presence of quinine. I thought that might be a thing too. I was like, oh, no gin and tonic for me? How sad. You pour that, you get the Bombay Sapphire, and then you squeeze a lime into it. It's actually pretty good. Just saying. Don't worry, I haven't had that in a while. But on the upcoming total eclipse, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be viewing it. It'll be fun. I'm going to be conducting occult rituals because I do believe that it has a spiritual, energetic impact. I just don't believe that astronomical phenomena have a directly, explicitly negative impact on the world at large. I mean, keep in mind, this eclipse is only visible in one part of the world. Well, does it have an effect upon Africa? No, not really. Does it have an effect upon Asia? No. On most of Europe? No, it's not even going to be visible. To them, there is no eclipse. People in the eastern seaboard is disproportionately recognized on the internet as well. I mean, largely English-speaking, dense population in a lot of areas. You got New York and shit like that. And so a lot of people are going to be talking about it. If this eclipse were going to be over the Sahara Desert, most people wouldn't be talking about it at all, now would they? Well, I mean, again, you've got a little bit of a bias in the information that you're getting on that as well. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would look at it as an opportunity to invoke change and to do some cool ritualism too. I've got it all set up with Audacity to do some sonic rituals and unleash them during the eclipse. I think that'll be fun. That's about all. Peace out.